And welcome everybody to the BSS. I'm Alexander Archambault, otherwise known as Opal. And today we're here for the first round of our GT British Sim Racing Championship. Early on in the day, we had ourselves our GB4s, otherwise known as F4s, out onto the track, and now just starting qualifying for our GT3 classes. Again, Pro-Am and Amateur. Pro-Am, and Am is all on display here. As you saw there, track is looking pretty good overall. So yeah, we're looking forward to some good racing here as we're going to get ourselves up and loaded onto our first set. Unfortunately, I don't know what's happened to our timing tower, so we'll get that in a sec. There we go. So what you're seeing is going to be, those are the GT4 cars that went out earlier. Now we're going to be getting into our GT3. So yeah, looking forward to this. Oulton is a tight track, to say the very least. So I think qualifying is going to be pretty important here for a lot of these drivers to get a good position to start things off here. But getting on board here, we're here with 92 Robin in the Ferrari. And I believe this is their first hot lap if they've gone over the start and finish here for this session. So we'll start to see the times that start getting clocked out here. For our GTs, we saw a 141.5 to kick things on their pole. And we'll start seeing our first batch of cars coming to the line here for GT3 and start to see what those timings are going to be put there. So Robin putting down a 1:33.4 is our fastest, but of course we're going to be having a lot of cars starting to come over that line. We're here with the Volato. Jesus, also going to be a half a second there. Lewis Hunter in the number 9. Coming in with a 2.6, so I think just got a little bit stuck up during the opening parts here. Of course, we are doing a combined session, so you don't get a clear track to yourself. You're sharing the track with other members. And for some people, that can be quite challenging to actually do. But Robin going to keep things on here. On board now with Ryan Thomas. Still has not done their first lap, so we'll follow them through. Again, getting onto the throttle there, pretty important. Not too early, though. Don't want to slide off the track after going through Shell. And then you go through your first of the chicanes. Up over the hill. Might be actually able to get a tow here, which would be quite nice and helpful, actually. As getting into that next set of chicanes back across. And you know what? Actually, we'll probably get a tow during that backstretch, so might be able to find some more speed here. As come up over to a corner. Back into this kind of fast medium corner. You're getting onto the brakes a little bit earlier and then getting out there. Robin actually ending up putting down another fastest lap there, a 32.8. Let's see what Ryan here can do. Was able to get a nice draft for a decent chunk of the lap, so we'll see if that equates to anything. And yeah, that's going to get them into second place on the qualifying. 0.4 of a second still behind Robin, as Robin's still doing quite well there. Back here with the number 99, this is Jesus. A second behind there on the gap, so got a little bit of time to make up here. And a little bit slow going through that chicane. Again, that chicane can be very intimidating for our drivers. And yeah, like I said, very important to get good qualifying here at Oulton. It is not a very wide track, as you can see, so Passing opportunities are pretty limited unless you're very brave, which is GTs. We're going to see some door banging probably. As Jesus going to go ahead, get around the corner here, going into the back in the Aston. Which is actually looking very nice here. First time we're seeing a lot of all these liveries for us on the broadcast. So we'll maybe find our standouts here, but very Mercedes-inspired teal and silver. And that is going to be not an improvement, it looks like, for Jesus. Unfortunately, still a 2.5 seconds short. Meanwhile, we're going to go on here with Bo, number 5 in this Porsche. Rocking it from FFI Motorsports. Meanwhile, toward the top here, actually, some good times coming through. Adam Lawson in the 205 from Camara Racing Team, getting up into 3rd. And Ruben was in our F4 feature race, or not feature, sprint race earlier on in the day. Ended up coming 2nd for silver on that podium, now back into the GT3s. And 0.5 seconds behind here as well, but we're going to keep tap here with the FFI Motorsport gang. Oh, apologies. Nope. Anyway, lose them for 0.5 seconds there. Another fastest lap, Robin putting down another heater at 32.2. So starting to really open up the timing board. But there we go. Jesus finally finds it, gets into the 32.2 himself as well. And Bo going across was sitting at a 1.75 behind. Not going to improve on the time there, so a little bit unfortunate for the crew there. Interested, though, number 18, that's going to be Velocity Racing. Back onto this GT. Starting his next flying lap. Was currently 3rd, was knocked down to 4th on the recent batch. And just taking a peek here, we also have our next batch coming toward the line, number 92. That's going to be Robin again. So Robin on this lap, looking to do what they can. Pushing down into the corner, getting down into those gears. Now back over across the line. Was sitting 5 thousandths of a second behind. But number 99, getting up over across the line, not going to be an improvement. Yes, it is actually. Just enough there, 2/10. And it's going to be Robin going over the line at a 32.06 to take back pole. But still 5 minutes here, so still quite a bit. As the number 99 is going to end up going into the pits here. So taking a peek here. Sim Line, Rivals Racing. That's Siberian Drag in the Mustang. Coming into the final corner. 2nd behind Robin. Was just knocked down there by Ryan as well. Going to come over the line and see if they make an improvement here for the Mustang. Also taking a nice little tow there for the Mercedes behind. And it's not going to be an improvement for the Mustang. So a bit unfortunate there. Gonna pop on over Simline Rivals. This is Lucas and the other Mustang. And he's just gonna go off track here and he's gonna reset to the pits there. So must have not liked how the lap was panning out. Back over to Robin. Robin currently on pole with that 32.06. So Robin ending up back on the pole still with an 06. Wasn't able to improve on that last lap, 1/10 behind. We'll see once again, though, if they're able to push here into the last set of corners. Coming in fast, able to keep back onto that throttle. Gets back out over the crest. And again, fast all the way back down to the line. Back around the corner. And then coming back into the pits here. So unfortunately, not going to be able to improve much more. But I do believe our quali is starting to come to an end here. We got 2 minutes left on the board. Meanwhile, going back on over to Soul of Racing AM. This is Ruben, as we mentioned, was part of our F4 earlier on in the day. Ruben sitting 1.2 seconds off the pole, so a little bit of work there. Still top 6, so you'll take it when you can. So back onto the back there, sitting at to that 2:20. Meanwhile, we have Fabio able to get their lap in, coming in 9th at a 1.5, and Ruben's just going to go back into the pits there. So I think we are getting toward the end of our session. Back over to Lucas on the Mustang, and I do believe that is going to be it there. Let's see. Going over across the line, so that's 12th right now for Lucas in the Mustang. See if they can bring it up. Well, ends up going off the track, so not going to be able to finish off this one, as that will probably kill. Going on over number 43, this is Fox Body Frameworks, driven by Kyle in the BMW. And just a little bit too far out, so not on the brakes in time, and that may actually also mess up the exits here for the two Porsches, able to get out of the way, so we'll see if that does anything, but drags all that gravel over across that front straight, so a little bit unfortunate. And that's actually going to be the Porsche clocking out as well. And it's looking like that's going to be the end of our quali. As taking a look at our track map, we only got 1 or 2 cars remaining. Yeah, it's going to be checkered flag, so we're going to take a short break, and then we'll get ourselves into the race here quite shortly. All right, and getting back in here, we're going to get to our grid quite shortly. And after a bit of qualifying, a bit of chaos there, we have ourselves our starting order. So this one's going to be pretty spicy, actually. I think we're going to have ourselves a good time here. Unless we're going to be waiting in, but taking a quick look at our starting order. So for your GT3s, we're looking at Robin. Well, not Robin. We got to get ourselves our team name. So Hardcore Red Pro going to be on the pole there. We also got Soul of Racing Pro in the 99. Camara Racing Team GT3 at the 205. I believe that's the Pro-Am mix, actually. But that's the other Pro team now. And then we have Lottie Racing. And fourth, we got Simline as well, coming in your top 5. And then for your GT4, Camara Racing going to actually pick up the pole there for the GT4s, and then Velati in on second and third. So not a bad start here for our teams. We are going to be doing rolling starts, so it's going to be a bit chaotic. Is the TLDR here. As we mentioned, starting up here, we got Hardcore on the pole, followed by Soul of Racing, number 99. We're going to make our way down the grid as we head toward that start. Camara in third, Velati in fourth. Simline Rivals coming in on 5. Soul of Racing again on the 6 in the Porsche. And then we got the Porsche of Accurate in 7th. 8th there on the BMW, Lewis Hunter, starting off for his team. Rising Panda, FFI Motorsports on that 5th row. Fox Body Simline on 11-12. Fortuna on 13. 14 Fox Body again running that BMW. Then getting into the GT4s. Coming up there, Lottie and Fox Body 17th, 18th. And then Richard rounding out that GT4 in the amateur class. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves set, ready to go here for our first race of BSS. Safety car is going to take him around one more time. So interesting to see here if this Ferrari is going to be able to actually get off the line well. And that's our leaders there in Camara. Coming over across. So some quick reminders here on our rule set for the GT Championship by BSS. Similar to the real life series for these 60 minutes, no tire changes are allowed. So teams and drivers are going to have to do their best to try and conserve as much tire life in these as possible, especially since teams with 2 drivers will have to do that mandatory driver swap. In each case, that's for everybody as well. So again, getting handed the car with very old tires may not be the greatest experience. So we'll have to see some adaptability. And we'll also need to see some courage, especially in these opening phases here, as we have a lot of cars. all pretty close, especially on a very narrow track such as this. You see, there's not a lot of room. So especially when we get into these chicanes, it's going to get really dicey as we see through the rest of the grid. First chance actually also seeing all these cars lined up together. So a lot of liveries being done, a lot of effort coming in from the teams and the drivers, which is great to see. Everything looking pretty awesome there. Unsure what my favorite would be, but it's going to get a little bit chaotic here, so let's get into it. Safety car lights are off. We're going to go green when we get around the final corner. And we'll start things off here for the first round of the BSS iGTB GT. Let's see what we end up seeing here as we're going to get things kicked off and started. Pace car is off, and that is going to be the field there. Is going to be Hardcore Red taking on the rest of the field as we kick things off. And immediately we see everyone playing pretty nice here. Nobody going too deep to start things off there, but a little bit of a spin coming out. And unfortunately, that is going to be the Porsche going off toward the side there. Meanwhile, at the front, Hardcore is able to maintain the lead there, but a bit of chaos, and that's unfortunately Bo in the Porsche there spinning out. And Hardcore are going to bring us into the shell corner for the first time. And already starting to get a bit of a gap going here. Mercedes in tow, Solov Racing, wanting to chase them down here, able to make it through that chicane. Nobody's dead just yet. Able to slow down that Ferrari. So outside of the one incident, it looks like it is just FFI Motorsports that are our first victims. But still, again, 60 minutes of racing. You're not out of the woods right away. And starting to see that gap there. Meanwhile, taking a peek over to our GT4s. Settling nice in behind there. Nothing too crazy. And now that we've seen a bit of a slowdown here, is Ruben. Oh, Ruben's off. Ruben in the GT3. We just saw Solov Racing. We just saw them start dropping down the order. And is able to get that car back onto the track. It looks like minimal damage, but we will take a quick check and see what exactly has happened there, as that was a bit of a unexpected one. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We're gonna go through our crashes from the start here. So starting things off here, Bo, unfortunately, just getting loose there. And just tags the wall, so nothing too crazy. Meanwhile, Ruben, coming out here, yeah, just gets loose going over the undulation. And, oh, dangerous position to stop the car, but still gets it to a stop there. So, looking all right, but it was a bit dangerous getting that car back on. Tuning on back there. So yeah, we see the GT4s have caught back up with Bo. Doesn't look like he has any damage, so not too sure why he's going this slow, but I don't think he'll be too bad. Going back toward the front here. Robin still taking the lead here for Hardcore Red in the Ferrari. Starting to build out a decent gap now, looking at about 1 second. Meanwhile, 2 to 3 seconds to the markers behind them. We are seeing a bit of a battle starting to form there as Robin puts down a heater, 32.9, getting the fastest lap to start things off here on lap 3. but still lots of time. Not too sure what's going on with the transitions. It happens. All good, guys. So as we mentioned here, Robin starting to get a bit of a gap forming. 1.2 to the Aston Martin in chase. And outside of those two crashes, we actually haven't seen anything on the rest of the course. Some off tracks here and there, but nothing too crazy. Is able to kind of just get this gap going. Meanwhile, we take a look here. Camara in this AMG. Holden third, but has this trail starting to form in behind. As unfortunately, it looks like for Richard Vesley, we saw a spin here in their GT back onto the track, so took no damage, but we'll take a look about that a little bit later on. As again, Robin puts down a 32.6, so unfortunate there for East Block Racing. They end up having a unfortunate spin, it looks like. Back up toward the front here, though, in our GT3s, still seeing the Soul of Racing, Aston Martin, trying to chase down the Hardcore Red. And really, we're not seeing, I would say, anything too crazy here. But one thing to note is, let's see, 92 Hardcore. There's still about a decent amount of track left. The GT4s are able to stay pretty close to the GT3s. It's on a massive gap. We'll start to see not really any traffic for the GT3s for probably another, probably 10 minutes or so. Once we get into around 48, 45 minutes into the race, we'll start seeing that traffic come into be a factor, and we'll see how the Hardcore Ferrari and the Soul of Racing Aston Martin are able to navigate that. Meanwhile, in that third place, Camara still holding down, Simline chasing with Velati and Accurate right behind there. You have this little group starting to form for this 3rd to 6. Again, Adam holding down as Cyprin and Ryan M following suit. Robin again putting down another fast time here. The tire's really nice and heated. It's going to be this chase down, but I don't think there's a whole lot that can be done here. At least for the meanwhile. We'll see whether or not that sim line can get up and tuck behind, but unfortunately, by the time that Mustang is able to get up to speed, it's just not long enough streets, right? It's hard for him to kind of close that gap, and that AMG is just able to get back on the throttle, and it itself can also carry a decent amount of speed. And we also have the two Porsches in behind as well. Which again, going through those corners, Porsche feels very nice to get back on speed. And you can see them trying to get ever closer to that Mustang and that AMG. But able to just go back pretty far. And actually here, you can take a look. The Hardcore Red, Robin, and the Aston Martin starting to really build out a gap. It's now 3.5 seconds from the second down back to third. So these two are starting to run pretty far ahead from the rest of the pack. But still plenty of time, 52 minutes. Gonna also have those driver swaps that come in a little bit later on. So at the moment, Hardcore, I think they're going to be sitting pretty nice here. But we have seen mistakes happen in the past. We have seen some unfortunate situations arise. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick peek on what exactly happened to the East Block Racing team a little bit earlier on. There's a replay there, and yeah, it just ends up going off the track. Not a whole lot they could do there. Able to get it back and going, so not a real spin, but able to get themselves back. Still losing a little bit of time there, and they're sitting pretty far back, about 20 seconds, unfortunately, there. Just taking a look here. That number 3, the Camara, has started to get a lot of pressure. The sim line, again, just keeps in behind them. And these two have actually started to bridge a bit of a gap between them in 5th and 6th place. So, starting to see the pairs start to form between the two. And like we mentioned, just having that early advantage on the track from that qualifying and getting out before the chaos really ensued. And again, pretty happy. We only saw, what, the 1-2 spins at the race open. I think we can take that pretty well. Checking back with our leader, you did see in the background there on the previous shot that the East Block GT4 starting to be in range of our leaders, so a little bit of traffic starting to appear. As they're going to have to start worrying about the Ferrari of the hardcore folks. So there'll be a blue flag there likely. And we'll see Richard get out of here. But let's see whether or not this slows down the Ferrari. It doesn't look like it will. A little bit. Okay, get a little squirrely off track there, but gets around. Okay. We'll see if the GT4 is equally kind to the Aston Martin in chase of the hardcore red. And yeah, Richard ends up going a little bit far, so it's an easy pass there. So, no real impact from our traffic folks. Meanwhile, checking back into this head-to-head here between Adam and Cypren. These two still in their pair, battling over that 3rd podium spot. Still trying to chase, but still can't get enough of a gap forming. And, ooh, okay, a little bit deep there. Maybe saw the GT4, but this is actually a really unfortunate place to be for the MG to catch this GT4 into the chicane, so it's a little bit slow. We'll see there, though. Wants to get around, has to tap onto the brakes. They both go around the GT4 on the outside here, and Richard is in a scary spot, to say the least. Shuts the door. Can the Mustang get off? No, has to go around, cuts the course, and that will likely be a slowdown. However, I think the argument will be made there by Simline that I had to take avoiding action, but that's going to be very unfortunate as Simline has to drop back down, and that traffic now from the GT4 is actually starting to make an impact toward our top class. So the Camara AMG is going to be able to survive there, but unfortunately for Simline now, having to drop back, but guess what? Velocity here. That's Ryan M. Thomas. That's now peeked into the picture and has a bit of speed here. Back up toward our leader. Hardcore still opening up a gap. Now with all that traffic, them and Soul of Racing have opened up quite a bit between the rest of the cars there. But that 3rd to 4th, or 3rd to 6th actually starting to form into a nice tight pack. Taking a quick on overlook toward our GT4, Camara Racing 05, driven by Chris Davis right now. Sim pretty nice. Sim pretty happy. has gotten themselves about a 4-second gap over the following team, and that's Vladi in the GT4s, the pair of them, and has a bit of a drift coming through there and losing a bit of traction on that exit corner. So we'll see whether or not they play nicely together, the pair of the GT4 Porsches, or are we going to see some team violence? Again, the 27 there, that being Liam. Getting a little bit loose there on the final corners. We'll see whether or not they are able to maybe work together here to get themselves going, but it looks like a decent amount of defending coming out from the 27 there, so I don't think we'll be seeing any of that. Back up the board, we go up to 5th. This is Accurate in the Porsche. Number 88. So far, so good. Have been able to avoid most trouble on the track. And actually, while we were seeing this all happen, we actually do have an incident that popped up here. This might be Fortuna Racing Sean Vale. Is Sean back into the pits or limping? He is back in the pits. He has towed back. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look and see what exactly happened here to this. Coming through. Just clips it. Clips it here. Does he end up getting hit? Stuck in the middle of the track. A very ugly place to be. Very ugly place to be. But gets it off and... oh, no. Oh, that's very unfortunate. Oh. Yeah, a little bit of an Austin Powers. But, alrighty. Able to get himself back and going there. So, it was just a little bit. Meanwhile, we also had Richard that had to take a bit of a detour. Using the utility road there, I think was just forced off and had to let the rest of the cars go, but you can see a bit slow. Yeah, gets himself back. Anyhow, we're going to go back into live. Oh. Where we are going to go back to live is Robin still holding strong. Now has opened up this gap to about 3 seconds. And starting to catch up to these GT4s. As that is the 2 class leaders of the GT4 and the GT3. I believe that's Chris. And yeah, looking to just give the space over to Robin. Robin gets on through there. No harm, no foul. We also have the AMG in tow behind. Meanwhile, Adam holding position still up against this Porsche, the 911 of Ryan M. Thomas in the Vladi Racing. Taking a back look here, we also have Simline, the 2 Mustangs. After the slowdown coming out there for Lucas. Or Luca, apology. And that's actually going to be a bit of a trade of positions there. So it looks like Simline, thinking the 78 just has a little bit more speed in it, wants to unleash that Mustang, get it going. And trying to catch down the rest of this pack, which... again, we got the 2 GT4s of Vladi defending the rest of Vladi. Coming around the corner, a bit tight there, but gets through. And actually, for Simline, not too much of an issue, as they'll power on through. Going up there, Camara still holding strong here in 3rd. Back up to hardcore. Feeling pretty happy at the moment. Sitting on that 3.5 gap. Again, close now to the 20-minute mark. But still 40 minutes of racing still left to go here for this Ferrari. Them and Sol have just really opened up a gap now. 12 seconds. And that, again, 3-car race starting to form here. Again, for that final podium spot. We still got 40 minutes to go. We still got pit stops to take place. And driver swaps to happen. But these guys are still not letting up here. Getting into the groove here. Camara Velati sim line in order. We'll take a big back there, but I want to take a look over toward Velati again into the GT4s, because these pair of GT4s have just been hugging each other this entire last 5 to 10 minutes here. And also acting a little bit of a blocker for some of these GT4s, because again, they kind of tow each other, get a little bit of speed in areas that maybe the GT3s aren't expecting it. But you can see there, flashing lights coming through. The BMW will come through. Ooh, a little tight there from the 27. But able to find the safety to get around there. Taking a look here. I'm going to take a look over toward the other Simline rivals team, as they've actually fallen back a little bit here and have allowed I believe the Lambo here of the Rising Panda Racing GT3 Pro-Am team to get a bit close in range. And this one is for 6th. And that's Oscar looking to hunt down Cypran. Again, holds it, still able to just kind of carry that speed down those straights in that Mustang. So it really comes down to these corners, whether or not this Lambo is actually going to be able to really gain anything here. Still the hunt. Gonna see it. I don't think we're gonna see any heroics, especially into these chicanes. It's a bit much to try and again hunt down. You can really hug the right side of that entry, because again you want to open up that second chicane, the second apex of the chicane. So again, very hard. I don't think we'll see any heroics there unless we see any kind of fumbles coming out of the hill. But again, a nice hunt here coming out from the pair here. And interesting here, Fortuna. Okay, so this was, of course, Richard and co. Coming in here, actually. Wait a sec. Just taking a look here. So, Accurate, 88. It looks like Accurate has fallen out. Meanwhile, we've actually had our first driver change. This coming out of Fortuna. So, Fortuna, obviously, we saw them head into the pits after the spin. I think they had some damage elsewhere on the track. And they've actually decided to swap out. So, Richard out of the car. Now in comes Matt Larson. So they're gonna, well, they're 4 laps down here, so it's a bit of a gap to make up, to say the least. Meanwhile here, it does look like we had a bit of a swap here of positions between the two Velati GT4 Porsches, as I saw them swap positions. So maybe they're feeling the number 42 has a little bit of speed. Maybe they could try and track down the Camara of Chris Davis. That again is just sitting at the end of that hill, coming over the course. Coming back up toward the top of our GT3 class. Luca is actually going to go ahead drop a very fast 31.9 for the Simline Rivals Racing Team. So starting to make a little bit of a surge there. And just speaking of that, just that squad that is forming with Camara, Simline, once again, just holding down the fort. It's been this defense from the Camara Racing Team 205. Again, just has this damn Mustang right on their tail. But see, getting nice and close there. A nice actual gap maybe forming here. See whether or not they can pull that one down the straight. Going to look for a line here. Able to get into the braking zone. Looking for the pass, and it's going to be clean. The AMG has to give up the space, and that is going to be a nice pass coming out from the Simline Rivals team. Very nicely done there on the Mustang, and that gets him up into the podium. And that was a valiant effort coming out from Adam. He was holding down that third position for a solid 10-15 minutes with all of these teams chasing him down. Unfortunately, just got a little bit screwy there going through the chicane and wasn't able to hold on. Meanwhile, I think we have ourselves our first driver change coming in for our GT3s. This one is going to be the number 18 Velotti Racing, as they have decided to come in for the pit. So I believe that's going to be our first driver change for our GT3s that are currently on the lead lap. Our leader right now, this is Hardcore Red, 34 minutes. So yeah, we should be starting to expect our pit lane to get a bit active here. We'll see whether or not we'll see any more driver changes coming out. As again, Velotti going to be the first ones to go in there. Still in the pits, so doesn't look like it. 30-second stop, nice and tight. So they've done the driver swap, and now it's going to be Quentin Verdonk coming out of the pits on the Velotti, in behind his GT4 counterparts. And they'll give him the space so he can get out and away and back to chasing down these lead cars. So again, reminder, in BSS, you will see driver changes, but you will not see tire changes during our 60-minute races. So Quentin now is taking over this Porsche that, again, just came into the pits, sat there for 30 seconds, and you now have half-life tires on it. So we'll see how Quentin does, getting back up to speed. Hopefully he isn't going to lose too much time here, but nonetheless, meanwhile, checking back in. Rising. Ooh, Rising. A little bit of a spin here. Able to get back to safety. Again, I think just got caught up on that final corner. Again, it can be very tricky, that downhill after braking. You want to get on the power right away, but you'll always kick out the back end if you don't respect just the loss of traction there. Meanwhile, we're going to have another team come into the pit lanes. This is looking to be FFI Motorsports, as they're going to go ahead and go for the change. So our other batch of teams doing their swap here, 32 minutes remaining. I'm interested to see here, when are we going to see Robin bring in this Ferrari for Hardcore Red? It should be due here soon. And it's gonna go ahead and keep going, so gonna stay on the lead here for now. And we have our another batch of teams going into the pit lanes. That's going to be Velotti. That's going to be their GT4 Pro, number 27, in the pit lane there. So coming back out. Back toward our leaders. In second place, still Solov Racing GT3. Driven by Jesus J. And interesting. So, heads up here. We're getting ourselves our first penalty coming through. And this one going to number 88 for illegal driver swap. So that was, of course, was Richard that ended up bringing the car in. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to do them in quite bad. It's going to be a stop and go 30 seconds. Meanwhile, pit lane is open. So again, the driver swap not under meatball status, I don't think is allowed there. So that one's going to hurt. Meanwhile, we saw Fox Body on your leaderboard. They also just came in, made the swap. And we're starting to see the rest of our teams come on through. So Fox Body comes in. FFI as well. Still, our top 8 teams have not done their swap just yet. Again, that's about a 47 second to 50 second. So we got a little bit of a confusion there. So number 88, I got Accurate Motorsports. That's Fabio. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of confusion here from our side, but number 88, one of the 88s, currently illegal driver change. But you can see here, now the rest of the teams coming in for their driver swaps. Meanwhile, Hardcore, Robin is still pulling. We'll see how this goes, but the pit lane action is pretty nuts here on the side of the rest of the teams here. Simline is also in there as well, as they're going to go ahead and pop through. And that's going to be another one coming in here. I believe that is the East Block Racing team as well. Meanwhile, we cut back just at the last second. And we have ourselves a bit of an incident. That's unfortunate. And that was after the pit lane. So Robin now slowed down on this, I presume, in-lap at some point here soon. As you saw in the background there, that was the number 99 Soul of Racing, now being driven by James, going into the pit just as that incident happened. So we'll take a quick look at that really quickly to see what the hell actually happened here. That was the Velotti Racing GT4. Again, it's just a little bit of a love tap there coming in, and Robin. All right, we'll leave that one to the stewards, but a little bit of contact there on the exit. Luckily for the GT4, they were going into the pit anyway, so it's not the end of the world, but that one's a little spicy as we go back to live. And right now, Robin, sitting on 27 minutes left to go, will have to come in for that swap here shortly. And we'll see if they decide to come in now after getting slowed down on that lap. It looks like, yeah, they're going to arc toward the pit lane. So our leader going to come in. Now for James, is he able to hunt down the time? As again, that pit lane's about 47 to 49 seconds. And that was just the same amount of time that James had. Is slowed up here by this GT4 from Velotti. So that's going to be really annoying. Wants to clear this as fast as possible, and we're just going to sit tight with number 99 and see whether or not they can go ahead and catch back up to Hardcore. So again, still in the box, 10 seconds still left. And Hardcore, they're going to swap in. It's going to be Jens coming in. So we'll see here. James trying to hunt it down. And here we go, Hardcore out of the box, but still in the pit lane, starting to come out. Luckily for them, at the end of the pit lane, so able to be pretty fast, 31 seconds. And Unfortunately for James and Soul of Racing, they get held up again by this GT4. And just not able to hunt down Hardcore during the pit stop, so the opportune moment doesn't pay off. And that is all our pit stops, except for the Camara Racing Team Number 5 GT4 by Chris Davis still has to pit. Is still the remaining driver to pit. Meanwhile, I wanted to check here. We had Rising Panda actually able to climb up a position through the cycle as they just overtake Velotti. Unfortunately, that Velotti GT3 has fallen quite far back down. We're going to have to go ahead and take a look and see if there was any incidences there. But Rising actually did have a moment just ago, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at that. And this was actually, ooh, that's a proper hit there, actually, into the barrier. You can see maybe that front has a little bit of damage, maybe some suspension. Taking a peek here, though, not meatballed yet, so far so good, it looks like, as we go back to live. Still, though, might be driving with a little bit of a crooked wheel. I'm interested to see what that's looking like inside. And all right, doesn't look like too much suspension damage there, as the wheel's still pretty straight. Maybe a slight dent, but looks like he got away with it. So able to count their blessings there, because that did look like a decent hit into the barrier, but is what it is. Taking a back look now, we're going through our rest of squad. So Simline, we got Mikal coming in for the number 78. Camara, the 205, that's going to be Gosha. Now looking to hunt down that Mustang. And Cpran, interesting. Simline, that's still the same driver. So we'll check back there. Did take the pit lane, so we'll double check with them a little bit later on. As we mentioned, Rising, we now got Christian in the car. In the Lambo. Trying to haul it back. Coming into the traffic now of the GT4s. For Team HSR, we got Andrew in this BMW after the swap. Soul of Racing Am in the 911 is going to be Bryron. That's not the 9. I think it's the 992 nowadays. Like, I'm so used to saying 911. In FF by XR, we got Clara. FFI Motorsports chasing them down. Brian in the Porsche. Fox Body, Danny Williams. And Velotti now going to be Quentin, who's again fallen quite far back here. And in behind them is Fortuna, which is sitting 3 laps down, actually 1 lap down of the Porsche here. So looking to unlap themselves from this Porsche, but again, the gaps here between the two, not looking too big, so I don't know if they're going to be able to make that up. And speaking of pits, we finally do see the Camara Racing Team 05 and GT4 making their pit stop, now being taken over by Albert. And still sitting quite pretty right now, a 12-second gap between them and the Velotti team. And Velotti GT4s, yeah, those GT4s after that spin out from the Hardcore team, or the incident, not intentional, the incident. They've broken apart now. That was a 20-second gap. That used to be neck and neck with them. And we can see now, passing them, going to be the Simline Rivals team, number 77. But after all is said is done, 21 minutes remaining. It is Hardcore Red in this Ferrari, just continuing to make a gap from the rest of the squads. Just seeing there. Ooh, okay, that's going to be the GT4 going off toward the side there. East block. A little bit of difficulty. You can see Jens there. An 8.8 gap between them and James in the 99 for Solov Racing GT3 Pro. And just not a whole lot that's going to be able to be done there. Taking a look back in here, Simline. The Camara is still hunting behind here, but unfortunately, just losing a little bit lap per lap here. Simline actually opens up a 7/10 pickup there on that last lap. Ooh, a little bit squirrely here. That is a very dangerous place to avoid. Meanwhile, we saw smoke on the track, so I believe someone did just go off. And that may have been East Block and Velati getting together there. We'll take a quick look, but ooh, Camara almost being taken out there. Gets dicey. But in behind, oh my goodness. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look here because we have a flag here that we may have had a collision between East Block and Velati. So let's go ahead and take a look back. So again, just get a look. Oh, they both just spin out in the same place. Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit awkward coming out there and it's just kind of stuck there waiting for a gap. So not a whole lot you can do. Meanwhile, coming back in here, actually, Simline, a little bit of a tussle. It looks like that GT4 really slowed him up, and now Camara just on the rear bumper and is hunting down this Mustang. Oh, and gets a little bit loose there. You heard the tires starting to lose control. And that's going to be Camara trying to look for the pass here on the inside. Now taking the outside route around the bend. Able to hold on. Gets in onto the near the edge of the track, but is able to pull off with the pass. So now Camara able to take back that podium spot and keep in third. Looking for that bronze at least here. After, again, a valiant effort by his teammate earlier on in the stint in the race, where they held down this third position for close to 20 minutes straight from onslaught after onslaught. But able to stay pretty safe here. But that one got a little bit spicy. That was a little close for comfort. Meanwhile, we have a black flag coming in from East Block Racing, and oh no, the Simline loses it out. Coming in through the corner there. And that's very unfortunate for them. We'll take a quick look here on the replay. See what happened here. I think just got a little bit too far toward the side, and yeah, that's what's going to do it. Just took a little bit too much grass coming through the third apex of the chicanes. So now, Camara sitting pretty good here. That 205 to take home third is unfortunately the mistake there from Simline will do them in pretty easily. But let's go ahead and take a look back toward our leader, catching back up with the GT4 traffic. Goes in around. I'd say if I was the number 92, I'd be a little cautious going around these GT4s, these blue GT4s, after the early little touch that we saw earlier. But it doesn't look like any vendetta is being held by either squad, so nice to see there. And can continue building back this gap, 10.6. As we head into the final 16 minutes of our opening round here at Oulton Park for the BSS. Interesting to see here, actually. You see it over onto our side overlay. We got a little bit of a battle starting to form for our 7th place between Andrew and Byron. As we pop on over here. Four-second gap. That's the closest gap we see here. Outside of the sim lines. You know, we've been taking a quick peek over toward all our GT3s. Back in our GT4s, that is going to be Albert going off the track and bringing over all this gravel. And that is an interesting place to lose it, similar to where we saw the sim line lose it. And we just have some pretty insane timing, is the TLDR. The Camara. Unfortunate there. And that's actually brought Velati kind of back in the picture. Only sitting 2.5 behind. That's a pretty big spin to have happen here. Unfortunate there for Albert, as it looks like they've cleared that up, but still, we're going to go ahead and take another quick look over and see exactly what happened here. Coming out of the corner, oh! We actually had some contact there between them and the Velati Porsche. So that one's a little bit unfortunate. We take another quick look again. Again, comes into the chicane. Looking pretty fine. But then, yeah, unfortunately just gets tagged up there. Not a whole lot that could be done there by a Camara. And that is rough for our GT4 leader. However, is still the leader, and that is what is important. As Velati, that GT4, the number 27, has still not been able to make up the gap there, but that one was pretty close. So the contact there, we'll see if the GT3, that Velati's already pretty far down into the standings, actually. So unfortunately, I don't think much can impact their race. And actually, it's given some life here to this GT4 class with 12 minutes remaining. And speaking of class leaders, there's the hardcore red Ferrari. Able to get by. I think the 05 Camaro Racing not really in the mood to block up the race leader. No reason to. We'll take it back there. And Camaro, I think if you're a Camaro racing team, you're pretty happy so far with how this race is going for both your classes. Again, you got back up into third spot. I don't think they're going to be able to catch the Soul of Racing. You know, Gosha is actually taking some tenths out each lap, but I don't think there's enough laps, unfortunately, for them to really make a comeback here without James in the number 99 getting held up or, you know, something along those lines. Again, you're looking at about a 5-second gap with 11 minutes remaining. Doable if you're laying down, but at this point, you got to remember, all these tires starting to wear down. It's really hard to lay down very consistent lap times in that 51 area. And we'll get a little squirrely there, but gets around the other GT4. A little squirrely. A little squirrely. And back to our leader. We actually got a report here that The number 42 GT4. 42. Wow, yeah, that's a gap and a half coming out there. So it looks like the number 42 ended up having a spin. So we're going to go ahead and take a look back there and see what happened. Back here on the replay. Again, it's this final corner. It comes in a little bit too much speed and just gets caught up. Able to bring the car out toward the side there. So that's very nicely done by them. But yeah, that's another one, unfortunately. Getting caught out there in the final corner. 10 minutes remaining in our opening round. The Hardcore Red GT3 pulling out a big lead. And pending any heroics, any major incidents here, unless we see a safety car or anything, I think that's going to do it. But as we mentioned, we have this little battle brewing now in the GT4s as number 27 of Marlon. For Velotti is starting to really dig in to this pace. As you can see, they're 3 laps down, of course. But taking a look here, yeah, as you can see, starting to catch them here. It's not undoable, you know. It's not end of the world. As that gap has come down. It was close to 4 seconds, now to 3, so we'll keep tabs here to see if the Velotti Porsche can bring this back. Meanwhile, I think Soul of Racing, we just had an incident, it looks like, here, as James, the Camara GT3, is within striking distance. It just looks like some slow laps coming in from Solov. Yeah, it looks like they got caught up in traffic, just lost about 2 seconds on the last lap. So maybe got a little bit of spin here, but okay. We might have some racing happening here in our final 8 minutes. Is Solov trying to hold on here, but Camara chasing them down in that AMG. And we're going to see here, last lap, yeah, Camara takes another 4 tenths. If they can keep this up, there is an opportunity. 4 tenths. Yeah, you'd be coming down to the line there, maybe on your last lap. It just looks like Solov is just having some difficulties here and there. Let's take a look back there, though. Velotti, unfortunately, doesn't look like they're able to maintain the chase as the traffic now starting to pour in. And that is from the GT3 class. So again, not taking the optimal there, but Camara is still being quite aggressive here, even with that Mustang hunkering down behind them. You can see how much of a difference that can happen is if you have that unfortunate timing for the traffic. Because again, now this Aston Martin's going to cut on through. If you're Camara, you might as well just go hard on the brakes, just get into the chicane, have a better chicane exit. But yeah, Velotti now in behind them, 2 seconds. There's a chance. Very possible. But I don't think there's any more traffic. I'm going to take a look at our track map, and yeah, there's not a whole lot of traffic coming. Rising Panda is starting to go through the chicane, so there's a possibility that something may happen there. Let's go ahead and take a look back toward Camara in that 3rd position, looking to chase down the Soul of Racing, as that's James out in front. And again, Soul of Racing number 99, that is their pro. And yeah, we're down to 2 seconds here between the two. Gosha trying to chip away if they can. Again, good timing there in the chicanes, but not enough, it looks like. And just taking a quick look here, it does look like we also have an incident with FFI Motorsports. So that is going to be Brian, who ended up having to go into the pits, potentially for damage. Meanwhile, Hardcore going in and, ooh, that is an ugly pit lane entry. As again, not sure what happened there. It looked like Brian having to do a drive-through at the last moment there. But let's go ahead and check and see what actually happened here, as we got 4 minutes to go, so it'll be our final highlight package. Just want to make sure the Camaro gets through quite nicely before we do that, and there we go. So let's take a look and see what happened with Brian here on the replay. Oh, just gets loose. Just gets loose. Able to hold it from going into the barrier, but... oh, almost gets beached. Gotta be careful not to get beached, but he's able to get himself back out onto the road, so... nicely done. And as we say that, we're going to cut to another one as Camara coming through. Ooh, we saw Brian. Does he just get loose after the cutaway? He does. Brian gets loose, spins it out, going through the bend. Holds it, slams the gas, a bit dangerous. But he'll rejoin. So unfortunately there for Brian, it just looks like unfortunate incident and incident. Meanwhile, we have another incident now coming in. This one by FF by XR. Also elsewhere on the track, I think this is going into the shell corner. Just a little bit too much speed. Way too much speed. And this one is going to be a big one. Into the wall they go. But able to get back to safety. But still, brutal coming out here with 3 minutes to go. Now we're starting to see the tires go on those high-speed corners. It's getting hard to hold on. Well, let's take another quick look here. Look at that. Second and third place now. Soul of Racing Camara has caught up with them, looking for this second place. It doesn't look like our GT4 we're going to have any heroics from Velati as they've dropped back to 3.3, but this is kind of our last battle here for second. As we got Gosha and James battling it out. Gonna look to try and push here, but again, look at that gap, look at that difference. It's gonna look tight here between these two. Really, it is just Soul of Racing trying to hold on. This Camaro has been, the Camaro AMG has been fast these previous couple of laps. And you have this GT4 now coming up here, so you're gonna have traffic coming in, likely, I think, your final corner. You can see the flashing Camaro hunting them, getting a little bit close for comfort. We'll see. James trying to hold on. He's going to have to deal with this GT4. Can he use it to box in the AMG? Oh, no, the GT4 taking the racing line. The AMG going to go out on the outside onto the grass. Oh, no! Camaro able to get by, but it is not unscathed. Meanwhile, Soul of Racing, James was not able to get a good runaway. Meanwhile, the GT4 goes off in the backside. There we go. In comes the 9. That Porsche of the GT4s. And we do have, of course, our race leader going to be going over for the white flag here shortly, but this battle for second continues. 2:10 separating them. Yet to see the white flag. And it is just hunting time here for the AMG. Gosha wants to find a way through. Keeps it tight here onto the chicane. we'll see here. Doesn't look like the move is going to be made into this chicane. Meanwhile, our leader, the Hardcore Red, 14 seconds up the pace, heading into the final backstretch before going down that front. And I believe we're going to go to a white flag here shortly. So let's see whether or not the Camara AMG is able to take back this second place. After defending third with their lives, they are rewarded with an opportunity to go for this second. Final lap is waived by the race control, so here we go. The AMG out on the front, looking to try and get around him. Again, going side by side down the front stretch. That's going to be the pass at the line, but there's still one lap to go on the outside. Does he stick it? Ooh! Gets around there, and now James, can he do anything to try and respond to get back this place? Gosha just saving the tires, it seems, but able to get around. Gosha trying to break the draft there. Maybe one too many moves, but we'll keep a tab as they go in here. And is it just going to be a lunge? I feel like at this point you have to go for one. Maybe if it's a good chicane exit, they're able to get it. Let's see, Gosha getting in onto those brakes. James still behind. Meanwhile, Hardcore looking to take the victory here. But going back over, our second place battle still heated, but it looks like the AMG has been able to pull away in the Mercedes. And I don't think James can make it up here in the Aston Martin. It looks like it's too much. It's now winding up to 9/10 of a second. Meanwhile, our race leader and our first winner of our first round of BSS, it's going to be Hardcore Red in the GT3, taking home the victory with Jens taking the line. Meanwhile, back for our second place, after a massive defensive display from the team, Camara comes in, taking home second place. Solov Racing going to take in the third. And taking a peek here toward our GT3s. We're seeing here, I think Camara still has to get to the line now. As we saw there. Meanwhile, shoutouts over to Simline. They finished 4th and 5th. Able to take that one home. Rising Panda coming across the line there is now in 6th. And for our GT4 class, it wasn't a big class, to say the very least there. Vladi getting close near the end, the 1.8 gap. But I do believe Camara is going to take home. So again, Camara Racing going to be very happy with this result. That is a first in GT4 and a second in GT3 after a really, really aggressive field coming out there. So congratulations to them. That's going to be first place coming in across for them. Velati, number 27, going to go ahead and take second place. And then the 42 of Velati going to go ahead and take third later on there, as they got a big gap between them and Fox Body. So nothing to be too worried about. But again, congratulations over to our race winner, Hardcore, taking their victory lap. And Camara as well, doing a brilliant job to bring home a solid second place there, as they're going to go ahead and get themselves into the pit lane. So an absolutely crazy as after 39 laps, it's going to be Hardcore taking home the victory. Camara Racing in second, Solov Racing in third, Simline with the 4 and the 5, Rising Panda 6, and HHR Pro on the 7th. So overall, very well done by the squad here. All right, and after our first round here, it's going to be the victory coming home here for a couple of different teams. And we're actually going to start things off here with our GT4 winners from Camaro Racing. I got Albert. Albert, first off, congratulations. How are you feeling?
It's a great race. It's good to be back towards the top. It's been a while since Chris and I have done that. So, welcome return, basically.
Yeah, honestly, it was looking a little bit dicey there with the traffic, but luckily you guys were able to kind of come through. And also a quick shout out to your GT3 counterparts there as well, coming home second on the podium. Yeah, how did the race feel for you? You came in obviously second stint. How was coming in with the used tires? Obviously, here in BSS, we're not allowing the tire changes for 60 minutes. So how did that feel to adapt in your opening laps?
First of all, massive shout out to Chris. He pulled such an incredible quality lap in first stint, and so massive props to him. Rest of the race went all right for me. I got taken out by another GT3, but otherwise we didn't have that many issues with traffic. Made the finish at the end a bit closer than we had wanted to, but pulled the gap out again, so we'll take it. But great run from Chris at the start, honestly.
Yeah, the qualifying here, especially at Oulton, you don't have a lot of passing opportunities, so getting an early quali that's good, and surviving the mayhem at the beginning usually is going to get you a pretty positive finish there. Exception, obviously, a little bit of a tussle near the end there, but hey, you still take home the victory, so I guess you can't complain too much there.
I mean, it could have been a much larger gap, but at the end of the day, these 25 points are 25 points, and it doesn't matter if you win it by 10th or you win it by a minute. So we'll take it. Nothing to complain about.
Cool. Well, thank you, Albert. Appreciate your time, and congratulations to you and the rest of the team here for taking the victory and the second place over in GT3 for the first round here.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time, hopefully.
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 There you go. Gotta be more positive.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time for another 25 points.
There you go. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And joining here us from 6 overall and winner of our Pro-Am from Rising Panda Racing, it's going to be Christian. Christian, how are you?
I'm doing all right, considering how my race went in the second half of the race. Yeah, it's pretty good to have the victory in Pro-Am. Get a solid start.
Yeah, we saw, you had a couple touches here and there, come and go. A bit eventful for you, but still, I think overall, taking 6 overall and then obviously class first, I don't think there's, you could complain a little, but not a whole lot.
No, I mean, Oscar did a great job in the first half of the race. Really solid qualifying and, yeah, start to the race. It was a bit eventful on his side as well, sure, but I think considering I had that scare on my first flying lap in my stint with the touch to the wall, to the barrier, it went pretty all right.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I looked at that and it looked like you had a proper hit, but it didn't look like the steering was all that affected, at least from the cockpit view. How did the car handle after that?
Yeah, going into it, I figured, yeah, the tires are warm. I can just brake how I usually did on lap 3-4 out of the pits. Yeah, the car didn't want to brake. I had a short, the rear wanted to go away from me, and then I had to correct it, and I went straight. And yeah, I think it didn't affect it too much since Oulton Park is not that of a high-speed track. And the steering was God bless, the steering was straight. But yeah, the guys on the pit wall were not that happy at that moment.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say they may have felt that was a little. Hey, you count your blessings, right? At the end of the day, you can't complain too much. But
yeah, the car was just tricky overall to set up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Max did a great job on that. Shout out to him. And yeah, I didn't expect the car to be that spicy out of the pits, even though the tires were warm. So yeah, but we made the best of it.
Yeah, no, it catches people off guard. It's understandable. But hey, again, a 6 overall and a class victory for you guys. So again, congratulations, and looking forward to seeing you guys at the next round.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing, and see you next time.
I'll see you then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for us here at BSS. So thank you for tuning on in. Of course, make sure to come back on our next round happening in 2 weeks. I won't be around, unfortunately, but I am looking forward to seeing the rest there. So yeah, again, please stay tuned in onto the Discord as well as social media. And thank you all for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at the next round here at BSS. Take care. Bye.